I got a quiz for you.
Yeah.
Name the Niners' kryptonite on offense. The Niners' offense, very talented. What would you say the number one kryptonite of that offense is?
You threw this one to me earlier today, so I've had some time to think about this one, and I'm coming up with. I know that you're gonna be. I think you're gonna agree with me, but
Okay.
it's not your pat answer. I think their kryptonite offensively is when they go up against an offensive coordinator that shows tremendous patience. Because
Okay, I like
then
it. I like it.
Kyle's not really in his bag if he gets to certain parts of the game and he
Arthur
looks up
Smith.
at the scoreboard and there's no points. And then I think what's the Niner plan? The Niner plan is dominate the time of possession, run heavy scheme, efficient throws off of play action. But if you dominate the time of possession, then suddenly you get to the second quarter, third quarter, I think there's an impatient side of Kyle that's like, let's air it out. Screw the running game. We're going to throw, and throw some more. Who cares about balance? So I think if you're Arthur Smith, like that Falcon game last year, I think that if you, keep your offense on the field, wear down the defense, and more importantly, keep Kyle off, from having 3 or 4 less drives than he typically would have in a game, I think he starts to call a different game. And I don't think he's nearly as when you dominate the time of possession, takes away his ability to dominate the time of possession, and then I think that the play action game evaporates and the whole thing starts to unravel. So I'll say offensive play callers who have patience in their plan bother the Niners offense the most.
That's a good answer. I think you went X's and O's. So I'm going to go Jimmy's and Joe's on this one. Let's go players. What Kyle has created with this offense is very talented group where they're committed to the run. They're a run-first team. Stopping the run is a chore. It's the number one thing you have to do. But at the same time, you have to be able to cover McCaffrey, Debo, Ayuk, and Kittle, and Juszczyk. How many teams can shut down that run game and cover all 5 of those eligibles on those play-action plays that Kyle schemes up? It's almost impossible. But if you have a dominant defensive line, not one guy, not just Aaron Donald, but 4 deep, 5 deep, 6 deep, 7 deep, and you can just win the trenches against the 49ers, push them around, because they're not super invested on their offensive line. Well coached on the offensive line, but not dominant. If you can just dominate in the trenches, you kind of negate all the things they do. And all of a sudden you take a high-powered offense and limit it to 19 points at home, which is what Dallas did. There's no way that team should be scoring 19 points in a game. But that's what happened because Dallas has one hell of a defensive line and got pressure like 50% of the passes, to your point. You mentioned that. I mean, Purdy was like perfect in that game when he didn't have pressure, but he was under constant pressure. So that's one thing. Teams with great D-lines, and the Niners do not match up well with those teams. And how many teams really are like that in the NFL? Philly.
Yeah. No, not very many.
The Niners are one. Washington, although
but the
Niners handled Washington. They handled Washington. I wouldn't even put Washington in that category.
Amazing they beat them because they didn't have Cameron Curl that day. They didn't have Cameron Curl.
I don't even know that. But it's pretty much Dallas. It's Dallas, Philly.
I'm just banging on Ted Talks ball because he threw that out there.
Shout out Ted. I love Ted.
Ted.
Is that fair though?
Yeah,
the D-line,
it is.
The dominant D-line.
I'll give you one more too. I think that watching Bobby Wagner in Seattle and watching Devin White at times in Tampa, the linebacker speed when you reset when they play the bootleg game and then you have the linebackers stop playing coverage and start to run after the quarterback, and you've got big time speed. And look how much Wagner on those delayed blitzes bothered them a couple years ago. And all of a sudden he's just shooting gaps and playing instinctively. I don't think they're the linebacker blitzes, especially from really heady linebackers, I think is something that really bothers them as well. But great defensive line.
A linebacker like Fred Warner, who plays deep zone coverage and is just taking away every single intermediate throw over the middle. I mean, that's where the Niners live on offense. So, I mean, I know that they have that guy, but if there were another one, like the Lions tried to draft that guy this year, Jack Campbell.
But
they tried. He's 6'5".
He's 6'5". But to me, remember the game against Kansas City? Look how dominating Willie Gay and Nick Bolton were in that game.
Exactly.
And those guys are second-level guys with speed.
Yeah, I think that's a big reason why Seattle brought back Bobby Wagner. Like, you can't be weak at linebacker against the Niners because they're attacking your linebackers in every single play. Tyler Cressley says, I agree, Larry, because Kyle and his lack of a development plan of a drop back passing game, this team lives on time of possession. It's true. It's a good point.